Okay, so let's just start. Ma'am, what is excess demand? Okay, as the name suggests. So in this chapter, we'll be doing excess demand and the deficit demand. Like first of all, we will do excess demand definition, the graph, and then what are the reasons for excess demand and how excess demand impact the economy. Similarly with this, then doing this, the second part will come for this chapter. Second part will be looking for the correction, how we can correct excess demand and the deficit demand. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so ma'am, what is excess demand? Excess demand refers to a situation when your aggregate demand is more than the aggregate supply, okay, corresponding to the full employment level output in the economy. So you have full output, but still there is more demand. And excess demand give rise to inflationary gap. Okay, so inflationary gap, when we were doing banking chapter, there we did inflation and deflation, right? When lot many people demand, so at that time prices also increase. That is basically inflation, and the gap between this demand and this gap is basically inflationary gap. So what is inflation? So first of all, you will write excess demand, the first point, and then the second point, and in bracket you will write what is inflationary gap. Inflationary gap refers to the gap by which actual demand exceeds the aggregate demand required to establish full employment equilibrium. Clear?
Yes.
And then this is the graph for the inflationary, showing your excess demand. So you can see this is the you will draw this one dotted. Not dotted, just draw it with similar color so that you can get aggregate demand at the aggregate supply. Okay, because only then you will get E point, which is your full equilibrium, and then excess demand means your demand will rise, right? And this gap, the gap between these two ADs, is your inflationary gap. Clear?
Oh, yes.
So you will write here, this is AS. Okay, over here you will write AD, and this is AD1. You will point it E, this is full employment, and you will mark it, and you will write this is the inflationary gap. Clear?
Yes.
Okay, so first write this, then I'll scroll it down.
Good evening, ma'am.
Evening, Harima. We have started the next chapter, which is excess demand and the deficit demand. So this is excess demand. Excess demand, basically what we already discussed in the banking chapter, right? Inflation. Excess demand is when your aggregate demand is more than your aggregate supply. And because of excess demand, your inflationary gap comes. So you can write it down and then we'll draw the graph. Okay?
Okay. Feels so similar, like so much
Yeah,
same
it's
book.
this entire chapter is similar to that banking chapter, and especially the qualitative and quantitative measures to
Again, we
control
do that.
the credit. Na? Exactly same. So we
Oh
just
my
need to
God.
focus. But here we will see why excess demand comes, what are the causes, what are the reasons. So a little bit different, but yeah, measures when we'll be doing it's almost same, like almost not 90% same.
Done, ma'am.
You can draw the graph.
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Done, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Rima?
Yes, ma'am. Done.
Okay. Now, we are going to do the reasons for deficit demand. So, ma'am, what are the reasons for deficit demand? Why deficit demand comes? Okay. So, first of all, first is rise in propensity to consume. See, earlier, for example, you have 2 chocolates. Okay. Now you want to eat 10 chocolates. So, of course, because of this, you will demand more. So, rise in propensity to consume. See, when you have your income, either you will consume things or you will save things, right? So, what will happen if your propensity to consume will increase? Then you will demand more. If your propensity to savings will fall, like you don't want to save money, you just want to consume everything. So that now in that case also your aggregate demand will increase. Okay. Coming to second, reduction in taxes. Ma'am, reduction in taxes means, for example, earlier you were paying, for example, your income is 100 rupees. Okay. And now, earlier what you were doing, out of your 100 rupees income, you were paying tax for 20 rupees. 100 rupees, you were paying tax for 20 rupees. Now, I said, no need to pay 10 rupees tax. You just need to pay 10 rupees tax. Reduction in tax. So, what you will do? The rest 10 rupees you will consume. You will demand more. So because of reduction in taxes also, aggregate demand increases. Then increase in government expenditure. Government expenditure means, for example, earlier you were purchasing fertilizers. Okay. For you have 100 rupees with you, 10 rupees now you are going to pay tax, and for 20 rupees you were paying you are purchasing the fertilizers. Now government want to spend a lot of money. Government said, I am going to give you the subsidy. Now you have to pay only 10 rupees. So again you are saving 10 rupees. So what you will do, because of this 10 rupees, you will again demand. So increase in excess demand. Then increase in investment. When you will purchase new thing, so you will demand new thing. So when you want to do more investment, then you will demand a lot. Then fall in imports. Fall in imports means, for example, earlier, for example, I have 2 dresses. These are the 2 dresses. Okay. And these are 4 people. 1, 2, 3, 4. So earlier what was happening, these 2 people were purchasing from the country, but these 2 people, they were purchasing it from abroad. They were importing it from someone else country, right? So, but now they are not purchasing. So again, earlier 2 people were demanding for these 2 dresses. Now 4 people are demanding, right? So again, the problem comes, aggregate demand increases. Then rise in export. For example, I have 2 dresses with me, right? Earlier, I used to sell these 2 dresses in my country only, but now I sold. So I have 2 customers for these dresses. Now I sold this dress to someone else. Like I exported this dress. Now I have only 1 dress, but I have excess demand. 2 people are demanding this. So because fall in import and rise in export, this situation comes. Okay. And then deficit financing. Ma'am, what is deficit financing? When excess demand increases due to increased money supply is called deficit financing. So for example, you have 10 rupees with you, but I gave you 100 rupees. So again, you will demand lot, right? Because now you have 110 rupees with you. So you will demand a lot. So that is deficit financing. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
So first of
ma'am.
all, write reasons for excess demand. Just write the first point, then I'll scroll down for the next points.
Ma'am, in that first point, propensity to consume, it's like consumption. It's not like APC or MPC.
Yeah, it's basically simple. Propensity to consume is of two types, APC or MPC. But overall, it will give you the consumption, right? It can be APC, it can be MPC. Okay.
Okay, done.
Okay, Sana done. First point.
Done, ma'am.
Now write the rest point 7 till 7.
Ma'am, what is the G/S?
Sorry. This?
Yes, G/S.
Domestic goods and services.
Domestic goods and services. Only 2 letters.
Yeah, they have written, you can write entire thing, because in exam if you write GNS, then ma'am will also give GNS. Okay. So write the entire thing, goods and services.
Done, ma'am.
Okay, Halima, you are also done?
Yes, ma'am, done.
So now the deficit financing. The question comes usually that, ma'am, what is the impact of deficit financing in our economy? Okay, so because of deficit financing, what is happening? For example, I have 10 rupees, but I want to purchase the product of 100 rupees. So what I said, I borrowed it from Halima or Sana, right? So that is deficit financing. I got money, so of course I will demand, right? So impact of deficit financing is excess demand is not a desired situation because it does not lead to increase in level of aggregate supply as the economy is already in the full employment. So basically this is the situation. Because of this, excess demand problem comes, and excess demand is not a good situation. Okay, now from here it is, you will write hashtag impact of excess demand, impact of ED, excess demand. So what? First of all, effect on output. So effect on output means excess demand does not affect the level of output. See, for example, You are a shopkeeper, you have 2 chocolates. Now 10 people came to you that we want chocolate. So what you will do? You will increase your production? No, at that time you cannot increase your production because you are at full equilibrium. Now it's your closing time. So of course you cannot change your output, right? So effect on output means excess demand does not affect the level of output because the economy is already at full employment level and there is no idle capacity in the economy. And employment, see, for example, if I want to increase my output, then only I will hire more people, na? But I'm not doing, and I'm not going to produce anything because it's my closing time, I'm at full employment. So because of this there will be no change in the level of employment as the economy already is operating at full employment and there is no involuntary unemployment. Nobody is unemployed in my country, so whom I will give the employment? And general price. So general price, excess demand leads to rise in the general price known as inflation. When there are lots of people demand, so earlier the price of chocolate was 10 rupees, but now I saw 10 people are coming, so I said 50 rupees, right? So as aggregate demand is more than the supply, so output no change, employment no change, but in general price it do affect. Clear? So first of all, what you will write? You will write impact and deficit financing, and over here only. Then you will write hashtag impact of ED. Okay, then you will write first, second, third. Clear?
Clear. Done.
Both of you done?
Yes, ma'am.
Now we are going to start with next, which is your deficit demand. Now, what is deficit demand? Deficit demand refers to a situation when your aggregate demand is less than the aggregate supply corresponding to the full employment level. Over here also you will have full employment but less demand. And then you will write because of deficit demand, DD is deficit demand, deflationary gap comes in an economy. Because of excess demand, which gap was coming? Inflationary gap. But because of deficit demand, deflationary gap comes in an economy. Okay.
Done.
Done, ma'am.
Okay, so now we will draw the graph. Okay, so over here you can see this is your demand and this is your supply. This is the equilibrium full employment, but this is deficit demand, so your demand will come down and you will mark this and you will say this is the deflationary gap. Clear?
Yes.
Then
None, ma'am.
Okay. Now we will do the reason for deficit demand. Okay. So, ma'am, what are the reason for deficit demand? See, everything will be opposite here. Okay. Decrease in propensity to consume, right? Now people will not consume, right? Increase in taxes. Earlier there was decrease, so you have lot money, you were consuming, but now you have to pay lot many tax. So again, decrease in government expenditure. Earlier government was giving you subsidy, but now government is like, no, I won't be giving you any subsidies. Foreign investment expenditure. Earlier you want to spend a lot doing investment and all that, but now you don't want to do that. Rise in import. Earlier what people those two people who were not purchasing from the country, they were purchasing, but now they started importing it from other states. Of course, nobody is going to purchase the product from your country. Then foreign imports, exports. Sorry, earlier what the person did, that person sold your one dress to somebody else, right? But now nobody is ready to purchase a dress from outside the country. So again, he has two dresses, but he has only one seller, one buyer. So because of all this, it will lead to deficit demand. Clear? So you can write it down.
Done, ma'am.